Let's go back into the suck zone. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Twisters, the newest film from director Lee Isaac Chung. So in this Lego sequel that is Twisters, the second film in this franchise, we once again see tornado wranglers or tornado chasers in the form of people played by Daisy Edgar-Jones, who of course plays Kelly, who lost some friends recently in a tornado situation at F5, and she's roped into coming back to Oklahoma to work with her friend, who's played by Anthony Ramos, to basically map out a tornado and give a much better advanced warning system to the people of Oklahoma and the world and stuff like that. They work for a company called Storm Pro. Well, in the process of everything, you have this other group of individuals who are led by a character, of course, played by Glen Powell, who plays Taylor, who are what they call storm wranglers. And storm wranglers are basically individuals that are like cowboys, or like, you know, they'll go straight into a tornado to, you know, get YouTube views and stuff like that, because they're also YouTube creators. And it's basically the Daisy Edgar-Jones group is similar to the Carrie Elwes group, but with a much more complex storyline. And the Taylor group is a much more outlandish version, but not really, of course, the Bill Paxton crew with the, of course, Helen Hunt crew and stuff like that. You know, they have like Sasha Lane, Brenda Perea, Maura and stuff like that. So it's really just the story of like more tornadoes, bigger budget, to be fairly honest, and two individuals that know a lot about tornadoes in the group behind them, and kind of trying to find a warning system, or trying to basically make the world better from tornadoes and stuff like that. That's what Twister and Twisters has always been about. But it also has that edge of like characters and stuff like that. So with that said, Twister, as you saw in my review, I have issues with it, to be fairly honest. There are issues with like characters and really weird editing and pacing. So going into Twisters, I was hoping for an entertaining time. I was hoping to at least enjoy it. I knew we weren't going to get the like characters like, you know, Philip Seymour Hoffman and Alan Ruck and Todd Field and Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. That's a different era of individual. But that era of acting and those characters were, even though some of them weren't well developed, they were fun, they were entertaining, they were, you know, goofy, they were like you fell in love. That's why that movie works. It doesn't work on the editing, I can tell you that much. It works on the characters. So you're bringing in a new cast, a younger cast, kind of like this era's version of the 90s cast, but you're adding in people like Sasha Lane, you're adding like Kiernan Shipka, you're adding David Corenswet, you're adding Katy O'Brien, of course, Brenda Perea, Anthony Ramos, stuff like that, Daisy Edgar-Jones, and of course Glen Powell. And the question that I worried about, and the one that I was wondering is this movie going to work? Do we need this movie? And is it going to at least make me entertained? You know, it's like that, you know, Gladiator thing. Are you entertained? That type of thing. And so with that said, for my honest review of this movie, I think it's a really entertaining, really kind of interesting movie, to be fairly honest. It has the same type of issues that the first movie does when it comes to the supporting cast feel kind of left behind and they're not really well developed. But I think they're fun. I think the movie works on that well. I think the two leads they have great chemistry. They're very charismatic. And I think it's nice, unlike the first movie, to see both sides and to see how important both sides truly are. You know, you have the one with money. You have the one that's just more of like kind of like the rebels. You see it from both angles. You get more character development for the techie people, the ones that have the money, but you also get it from, you know, the Glen Powell side, the rebel side. And I thought that was a really interesting take. You know, that's not something that happened in the first movie. You kind of saw Carrie Elwes, but he felt like such an antagonist, such an enemy, that you didn't really get understanding of what he was truly doing. I mean, he was still out there to find and help people, but in a much more rich way, I guess you could say, much more not as what the Bill Paxton side was doing, the Helen Hunt side was doing. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that they were at least attempting to further and expand and make it a little more dynamic when it came to the characters. And I think the visual effects, though that was 96, I think the visual effects for this movie are fantastic. I think the tornadoes, though they are once again made to play out like monsters more than, you know, just weather phenomenons, weather disaster, I think it's much more realized. I think it's much more realistic. I think it's much more scary. I think when the towns get destroyed, I think it's much more earnest. I think there's a lot more realism there, and these characters have a really interesting kind of juxtaposition to it, where they feel like they actually belong not in only this world, but they feel like they're actually dimensional when they're helping out the individuals in need. And there's something kind of truly honest about that, earnest about that, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate those scene where, you know, it's they did a clip of it or something like that behind the scenes, where the rebel group, the ones that with the trucks that are like similar to like the Helen Hunt crew, when this town gets destroyed, they end up feeding food to the crew, to the town, the people, and they do that by selling merchandise, and it's made to look out like they're like just making money off it, but they're actually, there is a purpose to this crew and the purpose to who they are. And yes, they're crazy and outlandish, but it was an honest, it was interesting. It really was. And then you get to the Anthony Ramos side where he's with this crew that is much more, has much more better technology. There is some stuff there, though I think it gets into some weird territory, to be fairly honest, that I think kind of takes down the characters and stuff like that. But I think in the story itself, but I think, you know, watching Anthony Ramos and watching this crew really trying to map out a tornado to help people, at least that's what they're being telling people. I thought that was a really fascinating thing. And I think that's what this movie does really, really well. It allows individuals and characters to be much more dynamic, much more realized, and I think that's a help with Mark L. Smith, who wrote the film, and of course Lee Isaac Chung, who of course directed Minari, which is one of my favorite films that year. But Lee Isaac Chung is an individual who, with it being like one of his first few films, really knows how to get to the human emotion, human ideology of what makes us tick. We are completely different individuals from one another. We might have the same interests, but we might approach it differently. But looking with the, you know, though Daisy Edgar-Jones is like beginning is just a little wonky, it's similar to the beginning of Twister, there is some passion there. There is some heart. There is some passion with Glen Powell. There's some heart. There's surface level stuff, but there's interior stuff that gets explored throughout the entire movie. And though it does have some weird editing issues, I think Lee Isaac Chung shows he knows how to direct people. He knows how to direct real people, and he does it really well. You know, this is also a movie where we see some other storm chasers who kind of disappear throughout the entire movie because they focus on the other two. I think Lee Isaac Chung really grounds this movie where Twister didn't. Twisters feels more grounded, more realistic, even though the twisters and stuff like that can go unrealistic sometimes. But there is a level of simplicity to this film that I've truly liked. Now, with that said, I think the ending is pretty bad, to be fairly honest. But I thought the first movie's ending was pretty bad. I think the beginning is a little manipulative, to be fairly honest. I know it has to set up Daisy Edgar-Jones coming back after, you know, losing some people, but I think it's a little manipulative. I think it's a little problematic, but I think the middle is really strong. I think it really tries. I do think the defining of the tornadoes could have been done a little bit better. I think that was done better in the first movie. I think, you know, going from action scene to action scene could have been a little more thought out, a little more played out. But I think when you get into the action sequences, I think they're much more focused. I think they're edited a lot better. I think they're much more thrilling than even the first movie. But I think there is some things there that they could fix. I mean, it's not a perfect movie in any right, because there's scenes in this movie that just need to focus a little bit better. But I can't really ding it for not at least being entertaining, at least being a good summer film, a good entertaining film, and a film with well-rounded characters. I mean, it's really difficult to do a movie about twisters and it'd be a movie that has to be a character study and a character development and it actually work. I really did like this movie. I really did. I really do recommend it. It's one of those surprising films that has, you know, enough bravado and enough existence to actually work. I think this is going to be a pretty surprise hit for the summer. I think people were really going to like this movie. Unfortunately, Deadpool and Wolverine comes out the next week, so that's going to be a little bit of a thing. But I think this movie's going to have legs with the older audience and, you know, a younger audience alike, especially if you like the first movie. So I definitely highly recommend Twisters. It's a fun, entertaining film. It has great character moments. It has thought-provoking moments, and it's just fun. The action sequences are fun. It's entertaining. I highly recommend it. So that's my thoughts on Twisters. Going to be currently in theaters here soon, but definitely check it out if you get a chance. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. Comments below. What do you think of the first Twister movie? What do you think of Twisters? If you've seen it, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, awesome. Hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming in next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.